How's it going, everybody? So in today's video, we're going to be talking about getting nervous before your fights. It's one of the biggest topics in the sport that doesn't really get talked about. However, it puts so many people off. Now, the first question I'm sure is on everyone's mind is, do boxers get nervous before fights? You'll see some boxers that say they don't get nervous, that are acting very brave or very confident or excited even before fights. Now, I can say from my own experience and from most of the boxers that I have spoken to, and I've spoken to over the years, quite a lot of high level boxers, all boxers get nervous. I've had well over 30 fights, and if anything, it got more difficult as my career went on, as I gained experience. I was never not nervous before a fight. I was so nervous sometimes that it would even get to me. You know, a couple of weeks before the fight, you have nerves. You have the fight on your mind. There's even times when you're thinking about ways and how you can get out of it. Maybe I could break my hand. Do you know what I mean? I never actually done stuff like that, but you do get those kind of intrusive thoughts. I did anyway. When a coach or my manager would mention fights to me, my initial thought would be, no, I don't want to do that. It is incredibly natural. It's just instinctively natural to feel like that before fights. The secret is you have to get over it. You have to learn how to overcome it, because once you get in the ring and once you finish a fight, you feel like you could do it all again. It's one of the reasons boxing is so addictive. Now, how do nerves feel before fights? I just mentioned a few different instances there. You can feel nervous when the fight's signed. I remember announcing certain fights on Instagram, especially big ones. I'd have sweat patches underneath my armpits just from the nerves. Just when I post that picture online, just thinking about the fight. There's times of an evening when you're thinking about the fight and your heart starts pounding. You know, you get those kind of things, butterflies, the fear of not wanting to do it. However, like I say, you have to overcome them. In regards to actually on your fight night, you will feel nervous. The changing room is one of the most nerve-wracking parts of a fight night. I always dreaded the feeling in the changing room. Now, I had certain fights where my nerves were worse than others. I was always able to cope with nerves. So you will feel in the locker room, you might feel heavy. You know, I completely changed. So I'm quite a tame person, but in the locker room, I go very, very serious, even animalistic. You find yourself jumping, hoo, hoo, making noises and stuff. You know, hitting yourself in the face. It's a weird one. It really is strange, but it's just how you have to get yourself in that mindset. So yeah, you would feel heavy. My legs would feel heavy. I'd feel butterflies in my stomach. One of the things I found a lot of the time is when you're walking towards the ring walk, like kind of in the halls in the back, my mouth would completely dry up. Your heart is pounding. These are just normal things. You may feel as though you are not very good on the pads in the change room. You feel like your legs are heavy and your punches aren't sharp, and you're thinking, how am I going to be able to get in the ring and do this if I'm struggling on the pads? This is all psychological. It's all nerves. It's all the build up for anticipation, and it's completely normal. If you feel like this, or if you're worried about feeling like this, you just have to embrace it. It's going to come either way. And you just have to learn how to overcome it and use it. Because this is the second thing with nerves. They are there to basically keep you sharp. They are a fight or flight mechanism. And when you get into that high, intense atmosphere, you know, it is a fight or flight instance. So you need to be sharp, and those nerves are there to keep you sharp. So just remember that it's completely normal, and your opponent will be feeling the same way. Now, in regards to learning how to deal with it, how to cope with nerves, because it's very easy to say you have to learn how to deal with it, but when you're in that situation, it can feel very overwhelming. Now, firstly, I have already said it, but you just have to learn how to accept it. If you resist nerves and you try and put up a front, then that way you're gonna boil up inside. Do what feels natural. Do what you have to do. For instance, like I said, I would jump around the locker room at times. I would, you know, make noises, just get myself pumped. It's just, it had to come out. I couldn't keep it in. So learn and almost develop a routine, you know, so you're doing the same thing every time. So you know it's going to come, you know how to cope with it. Do what you feel you need to do. Secondly, the least nervous I've ever felt for a fight, I wouldn't say the least nervous, because I was definitely nervous, was when I boxed Lewis Isaacs, which is quite ironic because it was my biggest fight. It ended up being my most brutal fight. It ended up being one of the best fights of the year. And we were both cut, and there was quite a lot on the line. You know, we were both undefeated. It was a very big fight in the grand scheme of things for me at that time. And you might be thinking, well, how were you most nervous for that? You know, but I had been so, I'd say switched on, nervous in the build up about it, that I had just absolutely put everything into the prep for that fight. And because I'd worked so hard and thought about it for so long, when the night actually came, I was in such good shape, and I knew I was in the best shape I could possibly be in, because I had pushed myself way further than I'd ever been before. And I just had that deeper knowledge that I knew I was going to be okay. Whatever happened, I knew the fight's here, it's going to be over soon, and I have done everything I can do. So although it sounds cliche, when you are training, push yourself, make the sacrifices. That's what the sacrifices are for. That's why you get up at 5 a.m. and run, as opposed to running at 12 o'clock in the afternoon or 7 o'clock in the evening when it's comfortable. There's no physical benefits for that. It's just when you're in that changing room and you're on your own and you're feeling nervous before a fight and it's overwhelming you with anxiety, you'll have that deep inner confidence and you'll know that you've done everything you need to do. And trust me, it makes a massive difference. The amount of times I sat in changing rooms before a fight and thought, God, I wish I went for those runs. I wish I'd done those runs. I wish I'd just turned up to that session, especially as an amateur. And it's one of the reasons I trained so hard as a professional, because I hated that feeling. So going into that fight with Isaacs, I remember sitting and talking to my coaches, Adam Martin and Mick Guilfoyle, and just thinking, God, like, I'm the main event here. I've got to wait all the way until 9 o'clock and I'm not even nervous. What's going on? My hands are bandaged, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, why am I nervous? And then, of course, when I walked to the ring, and just before, you know, I could hear Isaacs hitting the pads, and you know, it sounded quite hard. So the nerves start kicking in then. But, you know, I was able to overcome the nerves then and use them, and I was razor sharp in that fight. So, yeah, ultimately, accept the nerves, find ways to overcome the nerves, find ways to deal with the nerves, and put all of the work in your training. That is the most important part. Do not cut corners, because it will creep up on you. The boxing ring is the loneliest place in the world. I know it's a cliche, but when you're in there and you have your opponent who's looking in good shape, and you know you've been slacking, you know you've been eating a few too many slices of cake, which I have been guilty of, I will be the first to admit, there's no escaping it. So those are a few of the ways you can deal with nerves. And also do remember your opponent's feeling exactly the same way. And if you ever want to talk to your coach. Your coach should be able to understand. I mean, most of your coaches will have boxed before. I remember I had Mick Guilfoyle and Adam Martin, both very seasoned boxers. And, you know, I would say to them, like, you know, I'm never doing this again. Never doing this again. And they would completely understand. And then as soon as you finish the fight, you're like, right, when's the next one? So, yeah, it's a roller coaster of emotions. One thing I will say, do not let nerves put you off. Do not let the fear of anything stop you from doing it. I get so many people that say, I'd love to box, but I'm too scared. I was the most timid child, and coming up, I never would have thought I'd been a boxer. But you learn how to overcome these things. It will change your life completely. So never, ever let fear stop you. Nothing is ever as bad as you think it will be. So that's for today's video, dealing with nerves. It's a big subject. It's a little bit of a stigma in boxing. However, it is one of those things everyone feels. If you like the content, make sure you like, comment and subscribe. I do appreciate all of the support really in getting this page going. It's been roughly around a week now since I've been doing these longer format videos, and the response has been excellent. So thank you very much. Do drop a comment and videos you'd like to see in the future. I will be replying to them, and I will be consistently posting on this page. Thank you very much.